I've always hated the night shift. Most people imagine it's peaceful, quiet aisles. No customers breathing down your neck. Time to relax and zone out while you stock shelves. And sure, sometimes it's like that. But more often than not, it's a kind of dead quiet that settles on your skin like a film. Every fluorescent bulb buzzes louder. Every squeaky wheel echoes for miles. And the shadows in the freezer glass seem thicker than they should be. When I first started working at Dale's Market, a small town grocery store in Ohio, my coworkers warned me about the graveyard shift. They joked about the man in aisle 7. I thought it was just hazing the new guy. Spook the rookie and get a laugh out of it. But I came to learn they weren't joking. Not even close. It was my second week on nights. I was stocking soup cans in aisle 3 when I noticed someone down by the bread section. Just a guy standing there, motionless, facing the loaves. I thought maybe he was one of those late night customers who wandered in before we locked the doors. "Hey sir," I called. "We're closing soon." He didn't respond. Didn't even twitch. Just stood there, back slightly hunched, head tilted like he was trying to read something very small on the bread bags. I left my cart of soup cans and started walking toward him. But the closer I got, the more wrong it felt. His clothes didn't look modern, faded jeans. Flannel shirt, like something out of an old photo. And his hair, it wasn't right. Too dark, too stiff, like it was matted with grease. I opened my mouth to say something again. But when I blinked, just a blink, he was gone. The aisle was empty. I stood there with my heart thumping in my chest, staring at the bread. Not a sound, not a footprint, nothing. I told myself I was tired. Shadows, reflections, imagination. It was 3 a.m. after all. I went back to my soup cans and tried not to think about it. The next night, my boss, Ray, came in to do paperwork. He's an old guy. Runs the store with a cigar permanently clenched between his teeth. Around midnight, I decided to bring up what I'd seen. "Hey Ray," I said, trying to sound casual. "Does anybody ever hang around here after close? Like customers sneaking in?" Ray looked up from his ledger, squinting at me through the smoke. "You saw him, didn't you?" I froze. Ray leaned back in his chair, his smile thin and humorless. "Aisle 7. Always aisle 7. My stomach turned. He stood, motioned for me to follow, and led me into the back office where the security monitors glowed. He rewound the feed from last night and fast-forwarded to the time I'd been stocking soup. And there he was, the figure, standing at the end of aisle 7, facing the bread. I watched myself on camera approach him, walking faster as if I was nervous. And then, on screen, the figure simply vanished. No movement, no walking away. One frame he was there, the next frame he was gone. Ray hit pause. "That's why nobody likes working nights here." I couldn't breathe. Who is he?" Ray shrugged, lighting another cigar. "Some say he was a homeless guy. Climbed his shelves back in the 70s, looking for food. One of those stock pallets fell and crushed him. Broke his neck instantly. Others say it was a robber who got shot trying to hold up the place. Nobody really knows. But he's been here longer than me, and I've been here 40 years. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but my hands were shaking. "So what do we do?" Ray exhaled smoke and turned back to his ledger. "You ignore him. Don't go near him. And don't, under any circumstances, try to talk to him." Tried to follow Ray's advice. For weeks I avoided aisle 7 whenever possible. If I had to stock bread, I did it fast, head down, ears ringing with adrenaline. Some nights I didn't see him at all, and I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. But then came the night I broke the rule. It was a Tuesday, dead quiet, rain tapping against the roof. I was alone, completely alone. Around 2:30 a.m., I rolled my cart of bread down aisle 7, telling myself not to look up, just stock the damn loaves and move on. But something compelled me, a heaviness in the air, like static before a lightning strike. I lifted my head, and there he was. The man stood halfway down the aisle, closer than ever before. Same flannel shirt, same hunched posture. Only this time, his head slowly turned toward me. I froze, loaf of Wonder Bread clutched in my hand. His face was wrong. Too pale, too sagged, like skin stretched over bone. His eyes were sunken pits, dark and hollow, yet I felt him looking at me. My chest tightened. Against all common sense, I whispered, "What do you want?" The silence that followed was crushing. The buzzing lights above seemed to dim, the shadows deepened, and then his mouth opened. No sound came out, only a faint gurgle, like water bubbling through a clogged drain. His jaw stretched wider, far wider than it should have, and I saw blackness inside, endless blackness. I dropped the bread and bolted. My cart clattered behind me, cans and loaves spilling everywhere. I didn't stop running until I was outside in the rain, gasping for air, hands shaking so badly I couldn't get my keys into my car. When I finally did, I sped out of that parking lot and didn't look back. After that night, things changed. It wasn't just all seven anymore. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of him in a freezer glass. Sometimes in the reflection of the mop bucket. Sometimes, when I was stocking shelves, I'd feel cold breath brush the back of my neck, only to turn and find nothing there. Sleep became impossible. I'd dream of him, standing at the foot of my bed, head tilted, jaw unhinging. I woke up drenched in sweat, gasping for breath, convinced he was still in the room. I started drinking coffee just to stay awake. Ray noticed. "You talked to him, didn't you?" he asked one morning, eyeing my dark circles. I didn't answer. He sighed. "That was your mistake. You gave him attention. Now he knows you. I wanted to quit. God, I wanted to walk out and never return. But Dale's Market was the only job in town paying above minimum wage, and I couldn't afford to lose it. So I stayed." The final straw came 2 months later. It was another quiet night, just me and the shelves. I was in aisle 7 again, against my better judgment, straightening loaves. My hands were trembling, heart hammering, when the lights flickered. When they came back, the man was inches from me. His face was gray, rotted, lips pulled back from yellow teeth. His eyes, God. His eyes were black pits crawling with something that shifted and writhed. Before I could move, his hand shot out and gripped my wrist, ice cold, fingers like iron. My knees buckled. His mouth opened again, wider than any human jaw could. And this time, I heard it, a whisper, low guttural, vibrating through my bones. "Stay." I screamed, kicked, yanked my arm free, and ran, stumbling into the stockroom, out the back door, into the parking lot, where I collapsed under the buzzing security light. When I looked down, my wrist was purple with finger-shaped bruises. Never went back. I called Ray the next day and quit over the phone. He didn't argue, just muttered, "Happens every time." For weeks I had nightmares. Every store I walked into, I avoided the bread aisle. I stopped shopping late at night. I left lights on when I slept. But even now, years later, I still catch glimpses. Sometimes in the corner of a supermarket, a man stands staring at the bread. Customers pass by without noticing. But if I look too long, his head begins to turn, and I know he remembers me. Never liked the sound the walk-in cooler made. It was this deep mechanical hum, mixed with a faint metallic groan, like the whole thing was breathing, the kind of sound that gets into your bones, that you can't tune out no matter how much you try. When I first started at Granger's Grocery, the older guys told me I'd get used to it. They were wrong. The cooler never felt like just a machine to me. And then came the pounding. I was 19, working nights to pay for community college. Most shifts were boring, mopping floors, stocking shelves, rotating milk cartons in the cooler so the old stuff got sold first. The walk-in was the worst part. You stepped in, and the air hit you like knives. Your breath puffed out in clouds, your skin prickled, and your hands went numb if you weren't quick. I usually propped the heavy metal door open with a crate. That night, though, I went in alone. My coworker had called out, and the manager trusted me to handle the milk rotation myself. I'd barely stacked 2 crates when it started. A thud, then another, rhythmic, coming from inside the cooler walls. I froze, ears straining. It wasn't a compressor. I'd heard that noise 1,000 times. This was different, human, like fists slamming against metal. I backed toward the door. "Hello?" I called, voice shaking. The pounding stopped. I told myself it was the pipes, just pipes shifting with the cold. I hauled the milk out faster than ever, and by the time I left, my heart was hammering like I'd run a marathon. The next night, I asked my manager, Trish, about it. She was in her 50s, tough as nails, the kind of woman who smoked Marlboros on her break and didn't take crap from anyone. "Do you ever hear Noises in the cooler, I asked carefully. Her face tightened. For the first time since I've known her, she didn't look tough. She looked tired. Yeah, she said finally. You'll hear pounding sometimes. Screaming if you're unlucky. Best advice: ignore it. I laughed nervously, waiting for the punchline. It never came. She just stared at me, dead serious. What do you mean, ignore it? She stubbed out her cigarette. It's been happening for years. Nothing we can do about it. Don't open the door if you hear it. That's all. I thought she was screwing with me. Some old employee prank to haze the new kid. But then it happened again. It was a week later. Around 2 a.m. I was stacking crates when the pounding started again. Louder this time, urgent, like someone was trapped inside the walls. I froze. The metal door behind me rattled in its frame, as if something was slamming it from the other side. Then -fingers.com. I swear to God, I saw them. Pale, frostbitten fingers curling around the glass window of the cooler door. Nails blue and cracked, skin stiff with ice. They scraped against the glass, leaving streaks of frost. I stumbled back, nearly slipping on a puddle of melted ice. My breath caught in my throat. Help me. A voice rasped, muffled through the door. That was all I needed. I bolted, leaving the crates half, and didn't stop until I was out on the sales floor under the buzzing fluorescent lights. I didn't go back in the cooler that night. I couldn't shake it. Those fingers, that voice. The next shift, I cornered one of the older stockers. Eddie. He'd been working there 20 years. A wiry guy with nicotine-stained teeth and a permanent scowl. Eddie, I said, lowering my voice, has anyone ever died in the cooler? He looked at me for a long time, then lit a cigarette right there in the stockroom, even though it was against policy. Couple winters back, he said slowly, a kid got locked in. Night shift. Nobody found him till morning. By then, he was frozen stiff. Whole body iced over. They say he clawed at the door for hours. Left marks in the metal. I swallowed hard. Why don't they fix the lock? They did, Eddie said. New door, new handle, whole 9 yards. Didn't matter. Pounding still happens. Some things don't stay fixed. I tried to avoid the cooler after that. Trish noticed, but she didn't say anything. Maybe she understood. But one night I couldn't dodge it. We got a shipment of dairy late, and the shelves were bare. If I didn't restock, customers in the morning would complain. So I went in. The moment the door shut behind me, the air felt heavier than usual, thick with dread. I stacked crates with shaking hands, trying to ignore the way the walls seemed to press closer. Then the pounding started. This time it wasn't just fists. It was frantic. Banging, scraping, a body slamming against the metal from the inside. The glass window rattled. Frost crept across it in jagged lines, and then a face, pressed against the window. Skin pale, lips blue, eyes wide and bloodshot. He mouthed the words over and over. Let me out. I dropped the crate, milk cartons exploding across the floor. My hands fumbled for the latch. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. Something about that face. It wasn't just begging. It was angry. I don't know what possessed me, but I opened the door. The air outside rushed in, warm compared to the ice inside. For a second, the figure was still there pressed against the glass from the inside, even though the door was wide open. And then, in a blink, it was gone. I stumbled out, heart racing, chest heaving, and slammed the door shut behind me. I didn't tell Trish what I'd done. She would have fired me for opening the door, but I didn't have to. The bruises told the story. When I woke the next morning, my arms were covered in frostbite, burns, angry red welts shaped like fingers. My skin cracked and blistered as if someone had gripped me with hands made of ice. I never went back after that. I quit without notice, left town, took a job at a gas station 2 counties over. But sometimes, late at night, I hear it again. The pounding, the fists on the door, the voice rasping through frozen metal. And I know one day if I listen too closely, I'll hear the words again. Let me out. I used to think grocery stores were the safest places in the world. Bright lights, families with carts, music playing over the speakers. Nothing bad ever happened there, right? That was before I worked nights at Culver's Market. The truth is, once those doors are locked and the customers are gone, grocery stores become hollow shells. The shelves loom like walls in a maze. The hum of the freezers drones like insects. and every sound echoes too long. And in one aisle for canned goods, I learned there are places where the air itself remembers violence. We called it the cold spot. On my first overnight shift, my trainer, Jenna, showed me around. She was a tough girl, older than me by 5 years, with tattoos crawling up her arms and a permanent smirk. We were stocking soup cans when she warned me. "Don't linger here," she said casually, tossing cans onto the shelf. "Why?" I asked. She leaned close. "Feel it." I stopped, trying to notice, and then I realized my breath fogged in the air. The temperature dropped 10, maybe 15 degrees. Compared to the rest of the store, the hair on my arms rose. "What the hell?" "Cold spot," Jenna said. "Everybody feels it. Nobody likes it. Do your work and move on." I laughed nervously, but the longer I stood there, the more wrong it felt. The air was heavy, pressing against my chest. My hands went numb even though the rest of the store was warm. I hurried through the cans and didn't ask questions. 2 weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. On break, I asked Jenna what she meant. She sighed, lit a cigarette in the back room, and said, "Back in the 70s, there was a robbery. Guy came in with a gun, demanded the safe. An employee, young dude, about your age, tried to play hero. Grabbed the guy from behind. Didn't work out. Got shot point blank in the soup aisle. Bled out before anyone could call an ambulance." She exhaled smoke and stared at me. "Guess where that happened?" I didn't need a guess. At first it was just the temperature. But the more I worked, the more I noticed other things. If I stocked soup too long, I heard whispers, just faint enough to make me doubt myself. My name, drawn out, almost playful, Ali. Sometimes, cans shifted when I wasn't looking. I'd stack 10 chicken noodles neatly, turn my back, and when I turned around, 2 were on the floor, rolling toward me. One night I swore I saw footprints, bare, wet footprints leading down the aisle, vanishing under the shelf. The night that broke me started quiet, just me and Jenna, stocking opposite ends of the store. I had the soup aisle lucky me. It was colder than usual. My teeth chattered, breath pouring out in clouds. I shoved cans onto the shelf as fast as I could, trying to ignore the way the air seemed to pulse. Then I heard it, a cough, wet, ragged, right behind me. I spun, no one there. When I turned back, the cans I had just stacked were gone. Empty shelf. I blinked, confused, then looked down. The cans were on the floor but not scattered, arranged in letters. My heart stopped. I backed away, breath coming fast. Then the lights flickered. For a split second, I saw him. A man sprawled on the floor, blood pooling under him, eyes wide and glassy. His shirt was soaked red, his hand reaching toward me, lips moving without sound. When the lights came back, the floor was empty, but the air was freezing, stabbing my lungs with every breath. I ran to find Jenna, babbling about what I'd seen. She didn't laugh, didn't even look surprised. "Yeah," she said flatly. "You saw him. Most of us do eventually." "Why the hell didn't you warn me?" I demanded. She stubbed out her cigarette, eyes tired. "Because it doesn't matter. You can't stop it. You can't help him. You can only survive it. Some people make it a few months before they quit. Some last years, but the cold spot always gets in your head." I lasted 3 more weeks. On my last night, I was stocking soups again when the cold hit harder than ever. My breath froze midair. My hands went numb.com. The whispers weren't whispers anymore, they were screams. My name shouted, echoed, overlapping voices. The aisle thundered with the sound of gunfire, over and over, deafening. And then I saw him. Not just a flicker this time. He was there, fully there. A young man, maybe 19, clutching his stomach, blood soaking his shirt. He crawled toward me, dragging himself across the tile, leaving a red smear in his wake. His eyes locked on mine. "Help me," he gurgled. I froze, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He reached my feet and grabbed my ankle. The cold burned straight through my jeans, searing into my bone. His fingers tightened like a vice. "Stay," he rasped. "Stay with me." I screamed, kicked free, and bolted. I didn't stop running until I was outside under the buzzing neon sign. When I looked down, my ankle was purple, ringed with bruises shaped like fingers. Quit the next morning. Didn't give notice, didn't care. It's been years since then. but grocery stores still make me uneasy. I never buy soup. I never walk down those aisles if I can help it. And sometimes, when the air conditioning kicks on in a store, and a sudden chill brushes my skin, I hear that voice again. Stay with me. And I walk faster.